Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 2 of the third attempt at Kommon Nonsense with Kevin tonight. As you may know, my guest tonight is going to be, the one, the only, one of the greatest culture warriors we have in the fight today, the one and only Soonie Blanks. She will be coming on here in a moment. Until then, I want to remind you guys, don't forget to go to the store. Don't forget to go check out wakenotwoke.shopify.com. Check out all the new shirts we have, all the new gear we have. Get yourself a nice new hat. Check out Soonie's line. She's actually got some really fantastic merch up there. We will... Don't forget Liberty Revolt. I always forget Liberty Revolt, those of you who know me from there. Yes, please go check out libertyrevoltmedia.com. Follow us on Facebook. We will actually not be doing our radio show this weekend. It's going to be pre-record, but catch us every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. live streaming our radio show with additional live stream afterwards for those of you in the audience. And we've got some great articles, great content going on up there. So don't forget to check libertyrevoltmedia.com. And we are about to get going. What up? What up? Soonie, how is life going over there in whatever other country you decided to be in that's not America?
It's great. Yo, we had a earthquake while I was in bed sleeping, and I felt it.
Japan?
Yeah, I was looking around. I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, maybe somebody shook the bed, or like maybe I'm just like, spasming in my sleep. But we had an earthquake. Crazy.
How close are you to the ocean over there? I know you're near Okie, but
I'm right smack dead in the middle of the ocean. Like,
I mean, it is an island, so that makes sense. But I mean, like, as
the
far
shore
as
is like across the street. I can see the coastline from here.
Ooh, that is actually really dope. That's military does a good job at building bases in really prime real estate. When I was in Monterey, my barracks room overlooked the ocean, and we used to go on runs on the beach for PT and stuff. So it's like
nice.
sometimes the military really knocks it out of the park. Speaking of which, what is it like as far as the military spouse life over in Japan? Like, what is it like over there for you? Like,
it's generally it's open.
Yeah.
They try to say, well, you can't go indoors if you don't have a shot. And I'm like, watch me. I'm telling you, my life has not stopped. Yeah. I go to the base. Sometimes I will put a mask on. Other times I will test what they have to say. And I do this here. Put it right here and walk around. And they don't say anything to you. One time I walked into the BX, got what I needed. And this was me forgetting. Got what I needed and checked out. And they didn't say nothing to me. I went in there without a mask. But life is open. The kids are in school. Businesses are open. It's open.
That's fantastic here. Your kids, do they have like an American university for the families over there? Or like not a university, but
schooling,
Gotcha. Yeah. Ooh, I always heard that those, because I never had kids when I was in the military, thank Jesus, because man, the Army was an absolute dumpster fire for marriages. But, I always heard that like the schools themselves were very hit or miss. And I'm curious, like, how is that, how are the facilities there in Okie?
The schools here are great.
Yeah.
We actually had an incident that I told my audience about where my kid was asking what non-binary was because she had a student in her class, who was like, I'm non-binary. And I was like, nah, we're not having this conversation. so I reached out to the school, and the school was extremely supportive. They were like, no, this is, they're too young. This is not what we do here. We're in a little bubble here. We like to keep the kids generally safe away from cultural influences. Like, none of that stuff matters. You're in school to learn. So they were extremely supportive. And I told him what I did. I'm like, look, I'm a conservative commentary. I run a podcast. These things come across my desk all the time. And it's very disturbing that I have to now have this talk with my daughter. And they were just like, thank you for coming in. You know, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for, they gave my kids so many compliments. I was like, I'm doing a good job.
It's actually surprising because I would expect that some kind of pushback, but over there, they kind of understand, like, maybe it's not the best to start teaching children about like gender norms and that kind of stuff. That's actually, you know, that makes me feel a little bit better because it says maybe there's a tinge of hope somewhere to be found in our school systems. But maybe, but like, I don't know if you know what's going on over here, but especially over in California, things are getting wild. The vaccine mandate. Never mind. We're not talking about this. Never mind. I'm not getting into that at all. I don't want to talk about that.
Words.
But actually, it is curious to me. So, how do people respond to the fact that like you do political commentary on the side?
So there are times where I'll wear my shirts and I go pick up my kids, and most of the wives are like, they put their nose up. And it's generally the husbands that are like, thank you. Oh my gosh, I love your shirt. Where'd you get your shirt from? And they're like, what do you do? And I've had a few of them actually tune in. There's a lot of military personnel enlisted that watch me. Amazing.
Hell yeah.
But it's not, I don't know, because I don't care. So I don't really notice if they're like looking down on me or treating me any different. I just go by my day and do me. Like, if you're mad because I believe in free thinking and you want to have all these categories you fall into, go ahead and be miserable and mad. But for the most part, it's not bad. I actually wore a Jen Psaki shirt to my daughter had a birthday party. And it said Orange Woman Bad. And most of the people there were like, they kept looking at my shirt. You can hear them whispering under their breaths, but I just laugh. It's like, if you want to ask me a question, just go ahead and ask. You don't have to shy away from it. But, most people are afraid to have conversations, but I like pushing the limits. It's fun.
It's tons of fun.
Wear your Be the Change shirts or wear your Soonie merch to your kids' birthday parties, wherever they go, and watch all the parents. Some parents, they might short circuit. I'm telling you, it's hilarious. I need to record it sometime.
I wear them on campus whenever I'm tabling. I always have a Be the Change shirt on, and like the day that I got into an actual physical confrontation was the day I had my Everything Woke Turns to Shit shirt on, and it was wonderful. People love that stuff. Like they really genuinely do. But I wanted to ask more or less, like, elephant in the room, being a Black conservative woman in today's culture. What was it that drove you to get involved in the podcast, get involved in the politics side of things when I guarantee, I personally know you knew going in what kind of flack you were going to take for this. So what motivated you to get involved?
My kids.
Yeah.
My kids. It was after COVID. It was like the 2 weeks passed and they were like 2 weeks to slow the spread. And then the school canceled. So let me go back. So before COVID hit, so I got COVID literally a month before it was widely politicized. My entire town was sick. My daughter got sick, and I was just like, ugh, I feel like crap. The school didn't shut down. They were just like, hey, your kid has a fever. Come get your kid. So that was it. So she got sick. She went back to school, and then COVID hit, and they were like, it's a new virus. It's crazy. And of course, it's new. You're scared. They were talking about shutting down and people staying indoors. So once the whole 14 days passed, and then it got pushed out to a month, and then 2 months, and I'm noticing like my kids are still at home with me. There's no curriculum. Right. This is the longest 2 weeks ever. What is happening? No curriculum, no nothing. My husband is going back and forth to work, and I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. And my best friend, who wasn't political at all, she spent so much time around my family that she started to get involved in politics. It's amazing. She's actually converted. I red pilled her.
Good.
I red pilled a lot of people in the hood, by the way. Try it.
What is your hood, by the way?
Goldsboro.
North Carolina?
Goldsboro. Dale Street. Anybody knows where Goldsboro is, go to Dale Street. Tell them Soonie sent you.
Look, man, I have no idea where the fuck Goldsboro is. But you know, that's kind of what I was alluding to. So like, because all I really know is that you had a pretty rough childhood growing up. Like there was a lot of bad influences going on, and you've made your way to the conservative side. What, like, growing up, what led you to kind of divert away from the norm of your community and actually push towards where you're at now?
I was immersed. I was pushed into life. This is what it was. I got married. My husband is biracial. His mother's white. His dad's black. And I just had to deal with stuff. I had to like deal with being around white people, and you know, I didn't spend much time around. I'm gonna be honest. My family is a rainbow. You know, my grandmother's Indian and Irish, so you know, I've had a dealings with white people, but it was like, you know, white people with swag. White people that go to church on, you know, Baptist church on a Sunday. It was different. So when I met them, they were just like really conservative, really family oriented, just like family love, and that actually did it.
Yeah,
I got married, and of course it was a battle. You know, I fought against it. I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense. You know, look, I walked into her house, and I'm like, oh shit, they watch Fox News.
So you were like still a little bit on the left when you.
Yes, very much so. While we were married, my husband voted for Mitt Romney, and I voted for Obama. So when Obama won the second term, I was like, he won, and my husband's like, okay. I was like, yo, you're bugging, but it just took some years. It took some years, and I learned through experience. I have to bump my head. That's me. I'm hard-headed. So learning through experience, having kids, getting out into the work world, actually having to contribute to society. I was like, this side is very delusional. So what's on the other side? What does it have to offer? And I did research, years and years and years of research.
Oh, you did the thing you're not supposed to do.
I did. And COVID hit, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. I created Hot Mic. One day I was just bored. I put together a logo. I made myself an intro, and I started out on my kitchen table in my small apartment with my best friend, and I started putting my ideas out there. And one day it just took off, and here I am today.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's really crazy how much experience plays into the transition to conservative, because I don't know if you've heard the saying, but there's this old saying that says, if you're not a socialist in your 20s or a liberal in your 20s, you have no heart. And if you're not a conservative by your 40s, you have no brain. But there's people say that and they accept it, but they never actually think about what the like meaning of that is. AKA, like, as you grow older, you start to realize that the idealism that drives you when you're young doesn't really play out the way you want it to. So you got to be able to adapt, and you got to be able to understand, hey, as much as I want to change things and move forward, there are certain things we do that should probably stay the way we do them, because messing with it is going to make things worse or what have you. But people, the reality that people get more conservative as they age should be a light to younger people. Like, hey, maybe there's a reason for that. It's not like you get dumber with age. You only get smarter and more wise. And so it's very interesting to me, because mine's very similar. I was a Bernie bro. I was a socialist. And then I just started thinking. For me, it was more of like an emotional thing. I listened to a Jordan Peterson podcast, and at this time I was
that guy, man.
I was super buried in like an extreme depression, to the point where, like, I tell people, I'm not exaggerating when I say most of my waking time was spent thinking about killing myself and how I want to kill myself.
Wow.
And then I listened to Jordan Peterson, and he spoke to me on such a level of, the reason you're so upset is because you know how much potential you have, and you know you're doing nothing to achieve it. And that was one of the big driving forces towards my personal conservatism. So it's always interesting for me to find out, like, what it is that finally led people to understand those kinds of things. So but I know that you're like really picking up steam on the cultural front. What is it? What when you look at our culture today, especially like when you look at how our culture likes to portray groups of people, What do you think the biggest issues with our culture are today, if you had to just give me a couple, because I know there's a lot?
That's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
So it's funny that you say that, because one of the people that one of the viewers that follow me on IG, they're like, I want to pick your brain on this, and they literally had asked me. So we're gonna use we're gonna talk about American culture, but a lot of our American culture is politics. It's just unfortunate that's what it is now in 2021. So he said both sides talk about racism, and both sides point the finger at each other.
Yeah.
So he was like, as a Black conservative, what do you think about this? And literally, I came up with the whole monologue. I do a lot of writing. I don't put it out there, but I'm a nerd, man.
Hell yeah.
I came up with the whole monologue, and I instantly what came to my brain is monkey in the middle. And no, it's not a dog whistle. Okay? You got to put disclaimers out there.
Look, only dog whistles only make noise to dogs. We all know that, all right?
No, but it's like monkey in the middle. And I since we're talking about culture, I love to talk about the Black community, because I firmly believe we are the test dummy for what they're about to implement on a massive scale, right? So they have Black folks running back and forth, conservative Democrat, Republican Democrat. And both are like, hey, that party's racist. And the Democrats are like, no, they're racist. Look, they don't even do nothing for you. And we're just like aimlessly running back and forth, trying to catch the ball. That's what I think of culture and American culture right now at a massive level. We are all running back and forth. It's controlled opposition, right? They're going to say something against Democrats. Democrats are going to say something against Republicans, and we're going to just be running back and forth rather than stopping. What's the bigger picture here? What's going on?
I think it's really interesting too, because if you're honest about your assessment of our culture, black people dominate, absolutely dominate our culture. Like our culture is driven by Black culture for the most part, especially when you're talking music, when you're talking sports. And yet you will hear the Democratic Party talk about how inherently racist, everyone is on the right. And it's like, excuse me, but the amount of conservatives that I know personally whose idols are all basically if you want to talk music, comedy, and sports, are all Black people, and those are the most important. Even coming down to movies, it's like you try to tell us how racist things are, and I agree with you so much. It's basically a divide and conquer mindset, and they use topics like immigration and citizenship status for Latino folks, and they really don't touch on Asian people at all, because Asian people tend to adapt their culture to wherever they're at. Not necessarily entirely, but that's why you get names like John and stuff like that, because it's understood. But it's really crazy how they just use specifically Black culture as such a pawn in their game. Like, why do you think it is specifically that the Democratic Party spends so much time devoted to just that single demographic, basically?
Well, Democrats understand how important social issues are. You can't have politics without social issues, and they understand the minority in America. Like you said, we run culture, we run sports, the entertainment industry. There's so many things that Black folks run, and they don't even see it because they're playing monkey in the middle with both sides. Like, hey, ball's over here. Nope, it's over there. Nope, it's over here, and we're running back and forth. So it works. They know it's a win-win for them. Let's keep pushing this button that we know is sensitive, and let's keep pretending that we're going to do something we don't. And my favorite person, one of my favorite people, Booker T. Washington, he had an amazing quote. He said, there is a certain set of Negroes that make it a business to keeping the average Negro's grievances in front of them so that they never run out of a job. So if I got to keep fixing your issues, I'm not out of a job and I can keep making money off of you. Well, like I said, the Black community is a test dummy. All you have to do is apply that quote to 2021, and there you have it.
Two things. It wasn't he talking. I feel like he was insinuating because at the time he was kind of having a back and forth with W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was definitely talking about Du Bois in that instance.
Absolutely.
But to me, it's like because like I mentioned I went after talked about the Democrat Party first because I just wanted to get it out there. I think we all know that. Mm-hmm. The bigger problem that we run into is what is it that the Republican Party has failed so miserably at in the Black communities, and what can be done by the conservative movement to actually get their ideology in, like start to get their ideology into Black communities?
Well, look, shout out to Candace Owens. All right.
Yeah.
Candace Owens she pretty much mimicked what Trump did. I'm going to force myself into culture. When she appeared on the summit with Killer Mike and T.I., that crap went viral. I'm trying to stop cursing, so forgive me. It went viral. And people are like, who is this girl? Like, what are you talking about? I think Republicans have to get away from like sticking their nose up at everything. And I'm not doing that. Or I don't have to do that. I'm gonna talk like this to you. I'm gonna do all these things and never have to like try and meet somebody in the middle. That's why I love Candace Owens. I may not agree with everything she says, but I'm like, yo, she's dope. She immersed herself in culture. So immerse yourself in culture. That's why I stick to culture, and I'm going to relate it to politics because that's how people relate. They don't want to hear you talk about policy and they have no clue what the hell you're talking about.
Exactly. I hear a lot from from certain conservatives and stuff. Like, I hate Candace Owens. She's so dumb. I'm like, okay, I personally do not agree with some of the things she says. And a lot of times I think that she's not really making very logical arguments, even if they do make sense. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, the amount of courage it takes for someone to stand up against what 90% of their community is going to believe and be vocal about it and never back down. People like you, people like Candace, people like Brandon Tatum. I do not think that your average conservative truly understands the amount of courage it takes, because for me, it's easy. I'm, 60% of white dudes are conservative. It's not a big deal for me to be conservative. But when 90 plus percent of your community is going to end up, or wherever your community is at, mind you, that's why I use the word community, because
never know.
Yeah, no, but like, because you already told me what your hood was, so that's your community, and I'm assuming 90% there was probably, or at least 80% was leaning one way. That takes so much courage to stand up and say, no, I am going to disagree with you. And my question is going to be after this is, so knowing how much courage it takes to stand up, what can be done to start actually reaching out and finding those leaders in the community that are going to stand up and start working for true, meaningful change? Because I do know, I hear often that it's like, there's movements to bring some change. Clearly, it's not enough.
Man, me and Bryson were talking about this, and we were actually having a battle because I believe it's messaging, right?
Yeah.
I think the messaging it needs to be tailored. Like, I'm not saying change your message. Oh. What I am saying is you have to be able to talk to each demographic. Every demographic doesn't relate to Candace.
Exactly.
So what other, it don't even have to be Black, just anybody. What other influencer is talking the language that this demographic talks? Okay. Let's lift you up. Let's support you. Let's give you a platform. I think it needs to be more diverse, because Black people are so freaking diverse. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. We're diverse. So add some more diversity. Talk to people in the language which they understand. It doesn't mean you have to water your message down. It just means you have to meet somebody in the middle. Trust me, I started out really radical. You can go back and watch a lot of my old videos. I'm like, Black people, you need to do this. You suck. And they were like, bro, I don't want to listen to you rag on me every day.
Yeah.
You drop more bees with honey. So
exactly.
I had to tailor my message. Okay, you disagree with me. What do you disagree with me on? I love learning to just ask questions. I want to make people think. I'm not here to convert you. If I can get you to think and stop and say, I don't really know how to answer your question, I'm in there. So it's just more of meeting people where they are. Just meet them where they are, man. Engage with your audience. Talk to them. Reach out.
Yeah. You say like it doesn't, it doesn't have to just, it's all about messaging. Like I listen to someone like Tom McDonald or something like that, and like his music freaking slaps, by the way. I've listened to Bryson as well. I'm actually, I actually know his girlfriend Shekinah. She's from Northern or University of Northern Colorado, and she's actually been over on our campus and helped us do stuff before. And she's awesome person. And I have to agree so much that it's about messaging. And the thing is that the reason why I was asking about Republican and Democrat is because we're going to come to this conclusion. I'm pretty sure that it's not about getting Black people to side with one or the other. It's about just getting people in general, like you said, to think. People. People keep wanting to pick the fruits off of the tree of truth, but the fact of the matter is that you must first plant the seed of doubt before that tree is ever going to blossom in someone's mind.
Yep.
And we are not spending enough time just planting that seed of doubt. And you talk about you would just ask questions. I've found so much success on the college campus just asking questions and listening. Just listen to what people have to say. I know I talk a lot, but I do actually spend most of my time when I talk to people trying to listen to what they actually have to say, because I think that we have definitely lost that in our culture, and not necessarily our culture, but when the people that are in the political commentary realm, when you hear them doing the interviews and stuff, they're always talking. And as soon as they're done, they're waiting for one keyword, and then they're figuring out what the heck they want to go and say for the rest of the time, rather than actually just listening to what the other person is having to say. And and it's what do you think would be, if I have to ask messaging, do you have an example of how you would kind of change how messaging is done based on how it is now versus what you would like to see?
So I'm gonna shout out an OG. He actually imparted so much wisdom on me. I love him. We do Instagram lives together. Liddell Bugs, if you don't know who he is, go follow him on Instagram. He talks about money, economy, taxes. Amazing guy. He's always on my live. He said one day, he's like, yo, stop being in love with your own opinion. I was like, dang.
Actually.
That makes so much sense. It's like, stop being in love with your own opinion. Allow organic conversation to happen. Learn from each other. I think there are a lot of things we can actually learn from liberals. We don't have to take in every single thing they believe in, but they have completely dominated culture. They have dominated messaging. They know how to relate to people.
Yes.
Stop being in love with your own opinion. That's it. It was that simple. I'm telling you. Once I took in what people were saying, and Director Phil, if you guys don't know who he is, he would always be like, find your own lane. Everybody's not going to be Candace. Everybody's not going to be Tatum. Find your lane. Where do you thrive? Where do people like you? So stop being in love with your own opinion and find your own lane. You don't have to go out and protest on the corner. You can protest by saying, I'm not going to shop here. I'm going to support this local business. I'm not going to watch. Look, I haven't watched basketball all season. You're not going to get my money. It's
this one things. Is. Seriously, no, you're 100% right though. It's that like shopping with your dollar is such a good way to protest, because people don't understand. It's like Jeff Bezos, I know you hate that he's worth 200 billion, but at no point did he put a gun to your head. All he did was say, I'm going to give you your package in 2 days, and you just tossed your money at him and then got mad that he was doing a great service for you. But it's really interesting that the sports kind of thing, because as you know, I am also a massive sports fan. I watch all kinds of sports, but really the only sports I've been watching lately are Formula One, because of the lack of political messaging during any of the broadcasting. The Premier League, because of the lack of any kind of racial justice crap going on during the broadcast. I don't watch basketball anymore. I've barely touched baseball. Football. I didn't start watching football until they said we're just going to start at kickoff and go from there. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's fair compromise at that point.
Fine. Yeah.
But it's like, so many times you look at what's going on with the culture, especially, and you look at the messaging that the Democrats have, and the Republican Party really, or the conservatives in general, really pushed this idea for a long time. Hey, you don't talk about religion and you don't talk about politics at the table. And it's like, I'm sorry, those are the two most important things in your entire life. Your religion is your moral guide, and your politics is how you apply that to life.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two most important things. I'm sorry, you and your children should be having these conversations at the dinner table. You should be talking to your friends about this stuff. But I feel like the reason why the liberals were able to take over so efficiently was because of the intentionally neglectful conservative movement when it came to actually being open about their politics. Because, you said it
Yeah,
earlier, they kind of turned their nose up to it. We don't talk about
absolutely.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man.
It's
I'm talking about everything. I'm going to talk about, alphabet soup. Everybody knows what that is.
the
I'm going to
alphabet
talk
mafia.
about the Transformers. I'm going to talk about the most uncomfortable things. And they're like, oh, I cannot believe you're saying this. No, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah,
I'm going to talk
because you're going
about
to vote.
how, exactly. I'm not necessarily going to like freak out because, someone transition into the next phase of life, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Because of
Adulthood.
the virus. Yeah, like bro, like it's life. Okay. People die every day, B. That's what I say. And they're like, oh, you're so insensitive. It's like, no, I'm a realist. I'm not gonna sit here and you're not gonna pull at my heartstrings and make me have me thinking irrational. Like, no, that's not what's happening. We need to have these uncomfortable conversations.
What's really crazy is, like, for example, because gross. Go Broncos. Screw the Broncos.
I just saw that.
Because of what was I going to say? I got tossed off. I got so pissed at the Broncos, like seeing the Broncos go up there. Let's go, Brandon, for sure. Shit. I completely lost my train of thought on that one. I was going to say something. I was going to say something meaningful. I think I never do, actually, so I probably wasn't. But to get, it's the intentional injection by the liberals into every facet of culture, and then it's the intentional abdication of the discussions by the conservatives. And it's like, look, I'm going to talk about this stuff with you because I know you're going to freaking vote. And the thing about voting is that is you putting a gun to me, right? Like when you vote, you're voting for who gets power and who gets to point the gun at the other person in our system. So
yes.
I'm going to return a gun to you, and my bullets are questions about your beliefs. I want to make sure that if you're going to be participating at an equal level in this system to me, you're also taking the time to do the due diligence so that I don't have to worry about the fact that you're going to give power to some crazy group of people whose only aspiration is to bring about some kind of global hegemony or global government kind of deal. Not that I'm insinuating anything through any of this, but it's like, I do not think that it is rude to have these discussions with anyone. I will talk abortion because to me, it is very important to talk about the fact that 64 million people have been killed since 1976. I used to not. I was a very pro-choice person, but this is why I have these conversations, because all you have to do is ask questions. And if someone is pro-choice, most of the time their first arguments they're always going to give you are the most dehumanizing things you'll ever hear. But as you keep asking questions, eventually they get to a point where they have to acknowledge to themselves, and I don't even have to continue the conversation at that point.
You're right. Look, some of them absolutely will, but I just had a conversation with a young follower of mine, and she's just like, oh, I'm just gonna mind my business. She pretty much had the Aleister Crowley theory to life. Do as thou wilt. You do whatever you want to do, and I'm gonna sit over here and mind my business. And we were just like, how do you function like that? But it's because they've become so desensitized. The younger generation, they have become so desensitized to so much because all of this is like slapped in their face every day. Well, it's not bad. It's just, the mother can't afford it. Well, the mom's not ready.
Yeah.
Well, mom this and mom that. So I posed the question. I said, well, what about dad? And she said, what about dad? And I said, boom, I got you right there. And she's like, no, I'm asking. And I said, I know you are. I know you are. And the fact that is your response, well, what about dad? Tells me all I need to know. They are desensitized.
Yeah.
And it's our job. I'm 31, I'm not My sister's 19. She's always like, yo, you're old, man. You go to bed at 10 o'clock. And I'm like, girl, when you got 3 kids and a whole life going on, you're gonna go to bed at 3 o'clock, at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock too.
Yep.
But she's so desensitized. Her world is Twitter. Her world is social media. Perception, I tell her all the time, like, look, your perception is your reality. It is not reality. It's yours and yours alone. Until you pay attention to the world and what's happening, your opinion means nothing. And she gets frustrated, but I'm like, it doesn't, bro, because it's very flawed. So we have to do our job and let these young people know, like, this is what it is. This is why I posted that video. It was a TV show that actually showed what these procedures look like. I tell my story all the time. Like, it's like packing cows, cattle of cows into the slaughterhouse. It's literally what it is. It's not some freeing experience. So I think we need to tell them the truth about what these things are. And like you said, I have real conversations with my kids. My oldest is 9, but they know, they know what alphabet soup is. They know that alphabet soup is nasty. I don't like eating it. They know that.
Yeah.
I don't shy away from these conversations with my kids. And more people, you just got to be real with your kids, man. Stop painting them a utopic world that they're going to go thrive in. No, they're homeless kids. There's kids that live on the street. And my kids is like, oh, really? Like, yes, this is life.
But it's like, I think that because you bring up a really good point about social media and stuff with young kids, because I was just old enough. Facebook, MySpace came out when I was in middle school, and I hopped on that shit right away. Of course, I actually learned how to code a little bit, and then forgot it all as soon as Facebook came out and was accessible. But it was at a point in my life where I really didn't care, and to this day, I only go on Facebook begrudgingly, because every once in a while I just want to see whose birthday it is, and then I'll see a post because that's their algorithm. I'll see a post and I'm like, well, that's some stupid stuff. Let me comment on it. But it's like there is something so destructive about social media. This is like parents. There's a couple contradictory things that go on. First and foremost, no parent wants to have to tell their kid, "Hey, you kind of suck a little bit. You're never going to be in the NBA, right? You're not going to be a rocket scientist. Sorry." Parents don't want to nowadays. Like we've cast such a shadow on being honest with your kids about their abilities. We're supposed to tell every kid you can do and be whatever you want. Not always, though. Like not always. No, it shouldn't be you can do and be whatever you want. No, it should be you should be the best version of yourself you can be. You can be the best. For my instance, you can be the best Kevin LaRusso there is. That's who you should be. And where you end up doesn't matter as long as you're the best version of yourself. But parents don't ever want to say that. So rather than confronting their children when they're doing stuff like this, and I'm speaking as someone who has the grand total of 0 kids, so I don't really know. But what I feel like the issue comes down to is parents don't want to have to be honest about their children. Sometimes your kids kind of suck at stuff. Like
there's a such thing as participation trophies, and I probably sometimes I will go on rants and like try to reinforce something so hard. And I talked about participation trophies. Like, first of all, stop giving everybody participation trophies, and that's why America's suffering, because everybody got a participation trophy. Oh, you did this participation trophy. No, like, look, my youngest is 6, right? She will come bring a picture to me and it's all effed up. And I'll be like, what did you draw? Like, what is that? Oh, what's this? And I'm like, but it doesn't look like that. And I did this for her when she was like 3. She would be like, yo, I'm like, you're scribbling. This is sloppy. You were absolutely supposed to say that to their
so kid. Crushing.
But you know what? She's 6. She knows how she learned how to read when she was 5. She was talking when she was 9 months old. She colors in the lines. She's got very neat penmanship. She takes time to do these things because they matter. I didn't lie to her and be like, oh, this is beautiful. No, this is sloppy. What is this?
Yeah. And
be honest with your kids, man.
Exactly. And I think like what's happening today is like there's so much fear especially with parents, that when their child comes to them and says, "Hey, mom, I think I'm a, I think I'm a bumblebee kind of deal, or I'm Optimus over here," rather than being like, "I'm not too sure about that, honey. Do you mind if we like figure out what is there something going on in your life that we need to talk about? Do you feel like, rather than approaching the fact that it is clearly a sign of, hey, there's something else going on here, please talk to me about it," parents are like, "Oh yeah, of course, you can be, well, you can be a Decepticon or an Autobot, I don't care." It's all right there, Starscream, go for it. But it's like, be honest with your children, because especially like my biggest issue with the current trans movement is that there's so much affirmation of people's identity going on. No one is. I was listening to someone talking about it. Deborah So was talking about with Michael Malice. No one is taking the time, for psychologists especially, for one of two reasons. Either they have an agenda they're trying to push, so they don't want to take the time to address the underlying issue, or they are so terrified of the backlash that is going to come from the frickin' alphabet mafia that they don't actually want to dive into the facts and figure out, okay, you say that you don't even exist within the realm of human sexuality. I think that might be a sign of something else going on here. It's like, these are questions. There is something so wrong about what this party is all about, because if you look at what the left does, all they want to do, I have this conversation with college students, they legitimately think their goal should be to eliminate suffering. And I'm like,
it's not your job, man.
Jesus couldn't do that shit. You're not going to do that shit. I tell you that right now, right? Like, Jesus himself suffered for the last 3 days of his life. You think you're not going to suffer a little bit? Like, suffering is unavoidable. You teach people how to overcome suffering, right? You teach people that there is no obstacle. And the worst thing I hear on a college campus is when I tell someone my story and they say, "Well, I just don't think people are as strong as you." I go, look, man, like, there are absolutely people on this earth that have been through worse than what I've gone through. 100%. Everyone has the ability to get over this, but if you say you don't, then it's true. That's what it comes down to.
Can we show a video? Where's Russo? Russo is like he's like the pendulum. Like, no, you're not going to swing too far this way. I want to show this video. I'm trying to figure out how to get it sent to you guys. Because I just sat there in disbelief. Yeah.
It's what's it about?
Decepticons.
We're talking like Megatron here.
Yeah, but it's on Twitter. So like, it hasn't been snatched down, it's on Twitter.
Okay. Gotcha.
And we won't say, I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna play it. And look, drop a 1 in the comment section if you're like, whoa, because I was like, whoa.
I think you have control over there, don't you? You should. I do. Or do you want to send it to? Okay.
I actually send it to your inbox, but I'll pull it.
Okay, I got you. No, I got you. Right there.
Okay. I can't send it in. I see Easy. Shout out to Easy holding it down.
I think I got it here. No, I got it.
Okay. Let me know if you think it's good or
not. This one right here. Uh-oh, wrong one.
There you go.
There it is. Can you
it doesn't matter to you.
Why does there you go.
It doesn't matter to you. But to me, I'm a male. Okay?
Okay.
So what are you? So I can call you a sir or ma'am. What are you?
What would you assume looking at me?
What are you?
What would you assume looking at me?
I assume that you're a man. Okay?
Thank you. Whatever.
Oh, boy. I was like,
Jose, they're like, why did I come to this country?
I stopped. I was like, this is not life right now.
It's like, you see it, you see it coming out in policy too. You see pregnant persons, you see inseminators. It's like, Bruh, there's a word for these things. You want to say pregnant persons or inseminator? How about this? That's a lot of syllables. How about I just use another word? One syllable. Man. Like, we'll just make it a little bit easier, but it's like there's such craziness and no one has the balls to just say, yeah, we ain't doing that over here.
I like the little Mexican man. He said, look, I just want to know what to label you. Like, just tell me. You're like, you don't want to be misgendered, man. So, like, tell me what's what.
It's like, sorry that you're not attractive enough for me to see you and think that you're a woman. Go talk to Blair White, okay? Wait, no, I didn't say that. But it's like, there is legitimate gender dysphoria, which is treated with transitioning and which no psychologist recommends for someone usually under the age of 25. But, if you get to that point and you can't deal with it, then there's, that's when you give it a try. But rapid onset gender dysphoria is psychologists speak for. So, yeah, there's a lot of underlying issues. We don't think this is real. But if we say that, these people are going to come to our homes and do terrible stuff to us. So,
yeah,
rather than standing up to it. So it's like, where did the courage go?
It's like, what's that movie called? Wizard of Oz. Yeah, Cowardly Lion, man.
Yeah,
good
seriously.
Lord.
Except he's not finding a heart anywhere. But well, I think that video is a wonderful place to stop because at this point, I'm just gonna be logging off here and I'm gonna be contemplating unaliveness because this is just a world I don't want to be in anymore. But we're gonna keep fighting. Soonie, do you have any last words?
Make America think again. That's it. We got to start thinking, bro.
We do.
We're not thinking anymore. We're just in autopilot. And I want to turn autopilot off and I want to say something to make you think. So go check out awakenotwoke.shopify. Check out all the merch. Make sure you go get a MATA hoodie and a MATA shirt and get it Unvaccinated Lives Matter. Like, go get all this stuff and wear it. And watch people stop in their booths. They're going to ask you questions. Answer it and then ask a question back.
100%. Well, I appreciate you so much coming on and doing the interview with me. It's been an absolutely wonderful time. And this is not going to be the last time you're on this, by the way. I hope you understand that.
No, I'll be back.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Be the Change. Go check out Liberty Revolt over there if you want to see more of my beautiful, ugly face. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining and have a wonderful rest of your day.